What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Criterion Corner. This is the segment on my channel where I choose films either physically in the Criterion Collection or streaming on the Criterion channel and talk about them in great detail. And the film I'm going to be discussing with you today was actually recommended by one of you. I did a list video recently, and this was one of the films that was commented on it, and I read the description, and it sounded very interesting. And I knew very little about it. I didn't watch a trailer. I just read the little plot synopsis and saw the poster. And I'm really looking forward to talking about The Long Day Closes with you today. The Long Day Closes is directed by Terence Davies. Set in Kensington, a working class district of Liverpool, England in mid 1950s, this is the story of 11-year-old Bud, a sad and lonely boy. With cinema as his main source of solace, he haunts the local picture house. All the while, his family looms large in our peripheral vision, as do the menacing bullies of his school. But Bud is the center of attention both from the camera's angle and from his doting family. So, I was very excited to watch this movie after reading the plot description and getting the recommendation from you. And this movie was beautiful. I really loved it quite a bit. I think that the cinematography is absolutely incredible. I think the way that the director explores this character's life and the way that he gives us information is so unique and different than traditional narrative film, and I'm really excited to talk about the movie in detail with you today. So the plot is very simple. As the description states, the movie centers around young Bud, and he lives with his mother, and we see his brothers come into play. We see all of these people in the community, people that he goes to school with. And this movie isn't a traditional narrative in that we're following him from point A to point B. This film is fragments of his life, and it almost feels like a person years down the line reminiscing on parts of their life, whether those parts be good or bad. And we follow Bud through these different periods in time. And in his loneliness and in the moments that he feels the most alone, he goes to the movie theater, and the movies are his escape. And so the entire film is really just following this one character through these moments in his life. So as I said, I thought this movie was beautiful. It's incredibly moving. I do think there are a lot of people that call it a masterpiece, and I think that there are some moments in the film that aren't necessarily as strong as other moments that don't really kind of solidify it to that level for me. But I did find this to be such an immersive and beautiful experience. And for starters, I want to talk about the visual presentation in this film. The cinematography in this movie is like hauntingly beautiful. There are so many moments where the camera really takes its time moving slowly to reveal certain elements of the scene or where the characters are located, that it's just mesmerizing to watch. And there are these editing transitions that are so seamless and perfect that it's impossible not to be completely hooked on the screen. There are some moments of fantastical realism in this movie that I really appreciated a lot. There's a scene where Bud is in a classroom and he's like taking a test, and all of a sudden it starts raining or there's water hitting his face, and he like turns his head to the side of the classroom, and there's a boat there, and it's like out in the middle of the ocean, and the water is kind of splashing up on him, and all the other class members are just sitting there writing like they're not paying any attention, and it's just him and his own world kind of fantasizing about something different. And it's like one of those moments that you would have to yourself just sitting and thinking up something like that in your brain, that it almost feels impossible to translate accurately to screen. And it's so perfectly done. And that's what impressed me so much about this movie, is how many moments feel like something that you could only capture inside of your brain, that you'd never be able to translate to screen. And it was just amazing. I really loved the use of music in this movie. There's like needle drop music in it, but there's also moments where his mother is like singing a song, or he'll recollect that song and hear the real version of it later on. And it's like I said, it's almost like reminiscing about your childhood or thinking about moments that come back to you in a second and trying to vividly grab a hold of that. But the narrative, as I said, it's kind of all over the place because you're jumping from place to place to place. And to me, that felt like fragmented memories and like bringing up important moments, but kind of just skipping all the other stuff. And I liked that a lot about this movie. There are a lot of different themes that you can unpack in this film. Nothing is like super overt though. I know this movie has been classified as a queer film. Terence Davies is queer as well, and like there are some people that put this in the categorization of a queer film, and I don't think it necessarily like hangs on any of those themes long enough for it to be a queer-centered film. But there are some moments of him like lingering, watching these men, and there's moments where you can kind of feel it, but in a way that like a person would probably feel it at a young age, like just initially having those thoughts and like possibly moving in that direction. And it's incorporated in a very subtle way. There's also like themes of religious control, familial drama. There's even a scene that is implying overt racism in a specific moment. And I think Davies incorporates these ideas in a way that it's not heavy handed. It's not like he's preaching to you through the entire movie. It's like these are the way things kind of appeared to me in my life and how I experience them, or this character experiences them, and does it in a natural way that I think a lot of people can understand as to how these types of things would play a part in your own life. And I like movies that can do that. And as I said, that if there's one word that I can use to describe this movie, it's just enthralling. Like from the first frame, the cinematography is so beautiful. And what's interesting is there's those dull moments where Bud is just sitting at home not doing anything, and he like begs his mom to go to the theater. And the contrast between the cinematography where he's sitting at home kind of just mindlessly staring out his window to when he's in the theater experiencing a film, it's just incredible the way that there's just such a drastic shift in those moments. And the third act, especially towards the very end of the film, has some visual imagery that was just so stunning and beautiful. And it's just a really unique piece of filmmaking. I've said it before, I love slice of life movies. There's so many movies I've watched in my life that people say, oh, nothing happens in this, it's just like people doing day-to-day life stuff. But anytime movies can have characters just kind of living their day-to-day existence but speak volumes to something so much larger, it's something that I really appreciate. And this is a movie that I don't think I'll forget anytime soon, and a movie that I also think that I'll get a lot more out of with more watches in the future. So have you seen The Long Day Closes? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was beautiful. I absolutely loved it, and I cannot wait to watch it again. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.